On behalf of the state, do you have a final argument in punishment?
State will waive the right to open, close, and reserve the right to close, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Darling?
Yes, sir. Police court. As the judge said, I will be briefer than yesterday. We respect and accept your verdict 100%. Sarah accepts and respects your verdict 100%. Sarah is 50 years old. I'm looking at defense exhibits number 2. It labels her date of birth as 2/2/75. Nobody knows the psychological impact of being sexually abused as a child other than the survivor, and nobody knows the psychological impact of being in the foster care system other than the survivor. It's clear that is something to blame for this. I'm not saying that Sarah is not to blame. I'm not saying that at all. Sarah is anything but a victim, so I'm not here telling you that Sarah is a victim. We acknowledge that you've heard from the victims, including the principal victim, Joe. Despite all of that, she went and she did serve in the military, and you heard that from Barbara, her foster care mother. And I'm looking at Exhibit 70A from the state. She served approximately 20 years in the Army. Barbara mentioned that she believed that she was honorably discharged. She also had some sort of medical issue. She's on full military disability or what? She's not going to be obviously anymore. And she also did serve in a combat zone in Iraq. Sarah has 4 children that she helped to raise, although I know that they've suffered, clearly, and you heard about that. Hopefully they found or find strength from adversity. I do wish them that. Looking at the charge, you'll see that on page 3 of the jury charge that you're still only allowed to consider any extraneous if you find it beyond a reasonable doubt. And then also, most importantly, for y'all to take into account, from page 1 and 2, it says, quote, under the law applicable in this case, the defendant is sentenced to a term of imprisonment. She will not become eligible for parole until the actual time served equals 1/2 of the sentence imposed, or 30 years, whichever is less, without consideration of any good conduct found that she may serve. So what that means is what the law is stating to you is whatever amount of time you decide to give to Sarah, she will be serving half of that day for day, no matter what. That would be the minimum. The only exception to that is that if the sentence is 60 years or higher, then the day for day serving time is 30 years. So if you get 40, you serve 20 day per day. You get 20, you serve 10 day per day. If you get 60, you serve 30 day per day. If it's life or above 60 or above, then it's going to be 30 years before she is eligible for parole. She does need time to think about what she has done. She needs time to study and read that Bible that she's been toting around, because the only salvation she's going to find is within that Bible. Maybe you want to give her enough time, but a possibility that she can see her children in her old age. She does still talk to her children. We know that. We heard the phone calls. They undeniably dislike their mother, but it's also still clear that there is love there for their mother. At least that would give something for Sarah to try to work towards. And I would respectfully submit to you that you would have a parole board at that time in the future, however many years down the road that we're talking about, that can take into consideration what any family members have to say in deciding whether they should ever release Sarah. But I do think that a sentence to where when she's older, she has a shot to get out and she's working, doing what she wants to do, and if the children are on board, and I think that the parole board would be down the road in the best position to decide if Sarah should ever have a possibility of being released in society. So we are respectfully asking that you take that consideration, and I appreciate your service, and I know Sarah does too. Thank you.
Mr. Hargis?
I want to thank y'all for your diligence in this case. Joe sat for hours, and I sincerely thank you for not making his family wait any longer. And I'm also grateful to the defendant for her service to this country. And I believe that the defendant was sexually abused by her biological father, Thomas Smith. In fact, I have no doubt of it. My heart breaks for her because of that. And the empath in me wishes so badly that I could go back in time and stop that from happening, or at the very least, hold him accountable and get justice for her. My primary caseload, the reason I went to law school, the reason that I left my previous career and became an attorney is because I so deeply feel this call on my life to fight for victims of sexual and physical violence. And I mainly work with kids. My wall in my office is covered in drawings that they've made me as we prepare these really difficult cases, and when I have to talk with them about their traumas and the worst things that have happened to them. And I have cried with their families over their self-harm, and I have held these kids as they break down, when they talk about it, and I've cried myself whenever juries return verdicts of not guilty because of very skilled, very zealous defense counsels make them uncomfortable with finding someone guilty even when they believe the victim. But the defendant isn't like those victims. Those people don't begin to harm everyone around them. They don't start beating and killing and murdering just because they survived this trauma. That's really unique to this defendant, and she's not gonna stop. And I tell this story a lot. There's this movie called Inside Out, and it's a children's movie, and it does a great job of breaking down big concepts in a digestible manner for kids. And it explains how these things called core memories, they shape who we are. And there are great core memories, like wonderful, happy core memories. There's scary core memories that make us more cautious. And there are really sad core memories. And I have no doubt that Joe's family, that Helen, Jeannie, Tony, all these people that loved him have wonderful core memories. And a lot of them are probably related to Joe. But what the defendant has done is change who these people that loved him, she's changed who they are by inflicting these terrible, tragic, unforgettable core memories onto them. Jeannie, or Helen, having to hear that her son is scared of dying in his sleep. He's scared that the defendant is going to kill him. Having to hear that her baby boy was in the hospital, unresponsive. That he's in the hospital alone with the person responsible for that, with his killer. Jeannie, having to know that she almost got him out. The wails of her mother when she knew that he was in there. The hopelessness of not being able to stop her and being kept from her brother in his last breath, and the knowledge of the defendant made his worst fear his reality. Aside from taking Joe from the world, she infected these terrible core memories, and she forever changed the people that loved him. She did that. And what's so tragic is she inflicts this intense trauma on almost everyone close enough to her. On the people that she was responsible for protecting. As a mother, I cannot move past what she did to her 4 children. Because if she can do it to them, she can do it to anyone. And while those girls sat they bared the worst things, some of the worst things that happened to them, all because of the defendant. Did you watch her as she sat there and shook her head and called them liars? She is incapable of acknowledging her responsibility. She is, and it brings me no joy, it brings me no peace to say this, but she is unfit to be around the rest of us. It hurts my spirit. There's something inside of me that it hurts to say this. But it doesn't change the fact that that's who she is. That's the harm that she causes. And you spoke with conviction when you came back with your guilty. And now is when you tell the world what Chambers County does, how Chambers County handles serial killers. The only just answer in this case is life. The only answer that comes close to holding her accountable and keeping the rest of us safe is, again, being decisive, being clear, and sending a real message, and by filling out the top portion of this page with
All right, if you would, retire and follow the instructions.
All rise for the good news.